Same us. My name is Jess.
My name is Hannah.
And we're still reading.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not much has changed. Not much.
This is what happens when you don't tell me what you're going to say. That just caught me so off guard. Oh my gosh. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Happy 2025.
Woo. So far, I have worked in 2025.
I went on 2 planes yesterday and played Stardew Valley today. So, good year.
Nice. Good year. Good year so far. I didn't get yelled at work, so.
That's good.
Yeah.
Off
what
to
a win.
Positive start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, we are taking a look back. You know, we read a lot of books last year. Some the same, a lot different. Some new to us, some new genres, some that we really didn't think we would read, and some that were just weird reads, you know, period.
Yeah.
And so it's time to look back. It's time to, you know, open those wounds again. And then we'll go over, you know, our bucket lists for the year. Not a bucket list, our bucket list specifically. All the books that we want to read this year, some of our goals for the year, and yeah, what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We are going to reflect, and then we are going to swiftly close the door on 2024 and move on.
Yep. Never to be reviewed again.
Yeah, exactly. So
we will dig this up, and then the past is in the past. First of all, though, how are you?
I'm good. I'm in a weird space because, like, it's a new year. And there's all the content and all the New Year's resolutions and this is what I'm bringing into 2025. And I, on the last day of 2024, had a wild counseling session. I did a whole burning ceremony where I wrote down everything from 2024 that I did not want to carry, and I burned it. And then I did some yoga. And I chatted with my therapist, and I just kind of felt rejuvenated, honestly. But also at the same time, I'm kind of walking into a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of change happening. And so I'm just sort of like, the new year feels momentous, but also not. And school's about to start again, so I'm just getting back into the swing of things. I'm working.
Yeah.
Gonna finish my degree this year, hopefully, if all goes to plan. And yeah, so I'm just vibing. I'm just letting that rest. I'm setting my intention for the year, which is to just be myself, which is the most adult thing you can do. Sure. And we're just gonna leave 2024 where it is. You know what? It was a weird year, and that's all I gotta say about it. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I spent a week out visiting family, visiting friends, visiting you.
That was so exciting. That was so good. I'm so happy.
Yeah. So I am thoroughly exhausted. But
yeah.
I've got a couple of days off before I start my practicum here, so very exciting. And nice. I spent all day today in pajamas playing Stardew. So, good day.
Nice. How's the farm?
Yep. It's going great. I haven't played in a few months because I went to school. I have an ostrich named Dog Breath. So, didn't remember that, but I love him. Love him to bits.
How could you forget him?
I don't know. Truly. I'm so sorry, Dog Breath. One word.
Okay. That's great. Is it all lowercase too?
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I love that. Oh my gosh. What a way to start the year. to realize you have an ostrich child named Dog Breath, all lowercase, one word.
Yeah. Happy 2025.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah, seeing you was the highlight of my year, of my 2024.
Wow. Pretty girl is flirting with me.
Oh my God. You know it, always, 100%.
Well, speaking of for the year, let's talk about our goals for last year.
Yeah, 2024 recap.
Mm-hmm. So, the year before, I had read 22 books by the end of 2023. And so I decided, you know what? I've got a really good flow going right now, but I'm not going to go crazy because you know what? Slumps happen, and that's okay. So, my goal for the year was 35 books. It felt reasonable. It was an extra 13 on what I had finished the year before. And I don't want to toot my own horn too loudly, but I almost doubled it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I finished the year with 64 out of 35 books for the year.
Yay! Hell yeah. Oh my God, she's a reader. You're a reader if you read only one book, to be clear. However, 64 books is awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so 64 books. It is more than I thought that I would hit this year. But I'm very proud of myself. I am very happy with the final result. And yeah, we'll keep the ball rolling, as they say.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
How was yours? What was your goal like?
So a similar thing happened to me when I first got into reading. If like I set a goal at like 30 books or something like that, and then like just barely reached it, and then like it just sort of snowballed over the years. And so now I just set my goal at 50. At least I have the last couple of years, just to leave it at a book a week. I feel like that's doable for me with my lifestyle and how much time I spend commuting. So like that's just my 50. And last year I reached 80, and I mean, not last year, 2023. 2023, I reached 80, but I still set my 2024 goal at 50 because I don't ever want to pressure myself. And I reached 85 last year, which is exciting. I outdid myself in 2023 even, which is more than I was anticipating. So it's very exciting. So I guess I kind of got close to doubling it too with 85. Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah. Look at us go.
Whoa.
Killing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that to say though, I would still be a reader even if I read 3 friggin' pages this year. Okay? I want to be so clear.
Yes.
On my opinions on that. But my 85, I am proud of myself. And it wasn't even all fiction this year.
Yeah. That was big. That's big. She even bought a nonfiction this year.
I did. I think
you bought 2.
I bought 3, I think.
Ooh, look at her go.
I know. So things are happening. There's been a lot of change. I told you 2024 was a weird year. I meant it. So 85 out of 50. That's what I got for my goal.
Nice. Beautiful. On to our top genres for the year. I've got a bit of a jump scare. My number 1 genre for 2024 was fantasy.
Yeah.
I'm blaming that on the fact that I feel like fantasy just gets tacked on to anything just a little bit weird. And I read a lot of weird, okay?
Whatever. I knew you were a fantasy girly. I've been saying you were a fantasy girly since day 1. And all I'm seeing is evidence that Hannah was yet again right. Just for the record.
I don't want to talk about that.
All right. What were your other top genres?
Okay. Well, horror, of course. Yeah. Fiction. Just generalized, I guess. fiction, period. The fiction that doesn't go elsewhere. I imagine it to be like Coco Malores. Okay.
Or like literary fiction, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Number 4 was thriller. And then number 5 was romance. So it was a good year. I know. I
I'm
feel like
getting it.
I really like bumped up those romance numbers in the last like 2 months. So yeah.
It's easy when you're in school.
Yeah, it is.
There's some
It is.
there is a certain appeal about reading no brain romance. No brain just romance books when you're in school. Okay, that's not to say that romance can't be serious literature and like have things that matter to say.
Romance
However,
can have brain too.
yes,
And not just giving brain.
it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot to read romance. You can just enjoy it, have a good time. So it's nice when you're in school. Cool. Well, speaking of romance, my top genre was romance this year. Cal Surprise. Nobody is shocked.
No.
Which is the first year that this is the first year that romance has been my top genre. It's been fantasy for a long time, but romance
It had to be one or the other.
It had to be one or the other, and romance just won out this year because, again, and when I'm in school and I'm reading all kinds of heavy shit for classes and stuff, and a bunch of stuff that I don't want to read, those short little fun romance books that make me feel good are nice. And so this has been a heavy year of that, which is crazy because I was off romance for a good 3 or 4 months after a breakup
but then you
last year.
binged.
And then I just binged, and then I just went for it. I was like, okay, whatever, pivot, I'm over it. Let me just read a ton of romance. And I had a lot of fun with it. So, yeah, romance. And then my other top genres in order were fantasy, contemporary, fiction, again, just generally, and classics. Classics make sense because of school. Fantasy makes sense because I'm me, and escapism is my middle name. And contemporary pisses me off. It was only because of you. I don't want contemporary in there.
How does it feel?
Fine. I still put fantasy as your top genre, so I think I had something to do with that. We've influenced each other quite a lot, I feel like.
We sure have. Yeah. Yeah, those assigned readings are really hitting.
Yeah. But that's okay, you know. We found some gems. Okay.
We have, and we've had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah. So now I guess we should talk about our highest rated books. You go ahead first. You tell me. What was your highest rated book?
My highest rated book is actually a series that Hannah herself nagged me to read for so long.
You're right, I did, because I know it's the best for
unashamedly.
Unabashedly. I don't care. I have no shame anymore.
Yeah, she was right. It was fantastic. It was a 30-star series. Okay. 5 stars per book. The Bonds That Tie by J. Bree. So, reverse harem, paranormal romance in which the gifted community, which are people with some sort of power, live in bonded groups where there's a central bond and they've got multiple people bonded to them. Our main girl, Oleander Fallows, she is a central and she's got 5 bonds. And this 6-book series pretty much just follows the train wreck that is her life for a while.
Yep.
And so as the first and only books that have made me cry, it had to be the highest rated. The characters were raw, they were real, they were going through literally the highest pressure situation ever, and you still just felt all of like their attachment and devotion to each other. even with, like the weight of the world. And yeah, I just love the way that they care about each other, even
Yeah.
with everything going on.
Yeah. It's heavy on the character relationships for sure. It's really beautiful in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, well, that was my greatest
Yeah.
accomplishment of 2024.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Oh, all right. Well, similarly, in the fantasy romance realm, my highest rated book of the year was Bride by Ali Hazelwood. We have talked about it on the show. It's a marriage of convenience romance between a vampire, Misery Lark, and a werewolf alpha, Lo Moreland, who must keep the peace between their peoples and sort out the traitors in their midst, all while Misery has her own reasons to agree to this, which have nothing to do with politics or alliances. She's here to get back what's hers, and she's willing to do whatever it takes. So this was arguably my best read of the year. I had multiple 5-star reads, but this was the best. It had excellent plot, lovable characters, the most satisfying slow burn romance I have ever read. No man can compare to Lo Moreland, and the ways they get to know each other and learn to accommodate each other while coexisting in this sort of like forced proximity marriage of convenience situation is so wholesome. It's so wholesome and lovely, and I loved it. There was enough intrigue. The slow burn was great. 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
5 out of 5 stars, I guess.
I even gave it 5 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So that's Bride by Ali Hazelwood. That's my highest rated best book of the year.
And to completely pivot, next up is our lowest rated. So, hot takes. A hot takes. This section we say with the most respect. However, our opinions are our opinions. And
Yeah.
everyone is allowed them.
Baseline level of respect to the author for how much work went into their stories, and they told them. They sure did. And that is
sure
hard.
did.
That is hard, and mad respect to them for having done so. However,
they did it in some choice ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your lowest rated of 2024?
My lowest rated was Verity by Colleen Hoover. It's essentially okay. So I did write my recaps for today's episode in case you couldn't tell. But Verity by Colleen Hoover is about a writer who doesn't want any attention, but also desperately craves outside validation. She gets the opportunity of a lifetime to quote unquote co-write with a famous author, going as far as living in her house, working with her study, getting to know her family, all of this. Like life of luxury for an author, essentially. And then things start getting a little bit weird at the house, okay? And so I believe this was supposed to be Colleen Hoover's thriller, quote unquote, as well, with the, again, quote unquote, signature Colleen Hoover spice. Never have I been so disrespected as having an entire smut scene, including the aftercare, to be 2.5 paragraphs long. What the fuck? That's rude. That's rude. How is she one of the biggest names in romance? And it's literally barely a third of a page. That's the whole thing. Sure, there's aftercare. There's no foreplay in this sense. I don't understand. So that's first of all. Second of all, feminism is not women being better than men. It is about, the equality of it. And Colleen Hoover is no feminist. Okay.
No,
She
sir.
objectified that man within an inch of his goddamn life.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
What the fuck? Like I felt gross reading it, and I've never felt that before. And I read all of it because it was a gift for somebody that I care about, and I know that she likes the author. And Allie, I love that for you. However, it is not for me. And I sincerely hope that you don't take offense to any of my annotations, because I heavily annotated that book. It is purely for entertainment, but I'm pretty sure you'll love it. However, good God, period. So yeah, this was my first ever hate read. I was recommending alternative horror books in the margins that use the same concepts, but actually have some spooks involved. And I plan to take care of myself after that experience by never picking up Colleen Hoover again.
Sorry, Allie.
Sorry, Allie.
Allie.
Yeah,
Allie. Shout out Allie.
I can't. Shout out Allie. She has a dedication that I have to admire.
You know what? We love Allie. Allie, so sweet and lovely. I had the pleasure of meeting her when I went to the island to see you and your family. Love Allie so much. Allie, though, girl, I have recommendations lined up for you, okay? Because we can do better than Colleen Hoover. I'm sorry to say.
We can. We can. We will.
We can and we will.
We will get there. Together.
Yeah. However, we will not get there with my lowest rated book.
No, we will not. This is an
so
intervention, and it's about to be a second one.
Yeah. I am so embarrassed to admit that I read this. My lowest rated book was Stuffed by the Were-Turkey by Tate McKirk. A vegan woman rescues a rogue turkey from a farm selling Thanksgiving turkeys and decides to keep him in her bathroom while she hosts a vegan Thanksgiving dinner, only for the turkey to turn into a man turkey and emerge from the bathroom to do unspeakably sinful things to her on top of the mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
It's like 30 pages long, and I don't even think you can get it anymore, which is probably a good thing. The only note I made here was I don't want to talk about it.
That's fair.
I've read some wild shit in my life. Listen, I've read some wild shit in my life. I cannot get on board with this.
I have one note to make on this one, and it's not even in criticism whatsoever. I have not read this one, to be clear. However, I have listened to the Smuts After Dark episode on it, wherein they essentially go over the entire plot. And so I feel like I am still intimately aware of what happens in this book. And yeah, it may be 30 pages long, but Thanksgiving. It gives. And it gave, and it gave, and it might not have needed to, but it sure did.
Yeah, and that's all we're gonna say. If you're inclined to read it, don't. Just go listen to this Months After Dark episode on it.
Yeah, that's really all you need. I'll probably still read it at some point, but
yeah. Well, I don't even know if you can still get it. I tried looking it up again, and it's not there.
Oh, I'll find it. Can't be that hard.
Find it somewhere. All right. So yeah, with that, our highest and lowest rated. And so real quick, my final stats were 85 books, 24,301 pages. My top reading month was June 2024 with 10 books. And the top pages month was September with 4,063 pages. And my average time spent reading one book was 11 days.
My stats for 2024 is a total of 64 books read, 21,069 pages. Nice. My
Nice.
top reading month was March with 8 books. My top pages month was also March with 3,067 pages. And my average time spent reading one book was 8 days.
So that was our stats 2024. Now I did a little thing and created a list of awards for books, the Bars Awards 2024, if you will. And
Yes,
so
yes.
I would just like to rattle those off really quick. So
Nice.
for Best in Romance, I have Bride by Allie Hazelwood. We already talked about her. Love her. Best in Thriller, I put The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, which is a domestic thriller in which a down-on-her-luck Millie takes a job as a housemaid for a weird-ass family, living in a room that she realizes only locks from the outside. And this book had the best plot twist I have ever encountered, with equal parts psychological fuckery and adrenaline-inducing physical altercation. So that's my Best in Thriller. Best in Fantasy, I had Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry, which is a cozy fantasy novel in which an orc barbarian named Viv opens a coffee shop with the help of a fabled artifact, a ragtag group of locals, and a dream. And this book is high fantasy with low stakes that absolutely just warms my soul, and I'm a sucker for a found family with really grounded characters, so I really loved that. The best debut I read was A Man Called Ova by Friedrich Bachmann, which is a contemporary novel about a grumpy yet lovable man who finds his solitary and grief-stricken world turned upside down by those around him. And watching Ova be saved by both those around him and his own internal goodness in spite of everything was truly beautiful. That one, I gave it 5 stars. So far, all of these that I've said have been 5 stars. And now we move into some ones that we both have books for. So I created the award for Best in Nonfiction. And my favorite nonfiction book from the past year was What Comes After Rock Bottom by Tyrone Reed, which I gave 4.75 stars. And it's a true story of surviving, healing, and embracing a new beginning as we follow the experiences of beloved social media personality Tyrone Reed through his struggles, mistakes, traumas, and lessons. And I just really admire the way that Tyrone writes completely candidly, not trying to be perfect or marketable or easy, just telling the raw, emotional, honest-to-God truth. And I read that book in one sitting in the middle of the night when I really needed it, and all I have to say is that that book matters.
Oh, I also have a nonfiction book to mention. However, it is a very different style of nonfiction.
Definitely.
Yeah. So my best in nonfiction is Under the Knife, A History of Surgery Through 28 Remarkable Operations by Arnold van der Laar. And the title is pretty darn self-explanatory, honestly. So Arnold van der Laar, honestly, he had such a comedic narration through some of the most cringe-inducing medical maladies throughout history. His research is very evidently thorough, and he presents the surgeries, complications, what might have happened should the patient have been, lucky enough to live in today's world and have access to today's medicine, but unfortunately they were not. As well as if this person had done this as they should have, this might have been the result instead. However, that didn't happen, and here's what did happen. And the way that he just lays out pretty dense medical terminology, he makes it very palatable for the average reader. And granted, I was taking a terminology course while reading this, but even before I had been, it was easy to get through and a really fun read.
Nice. Cool. So next I have Best in Classics. I chose Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson, which I rated 4.25 stars. And this is basically just a hair-raising horror about respectable Dr. Jekyll's strange association with the damnable young man Edward Hyde, which I think I borrowed from, like, that's a description I borrowed from somewhere because I thought it was funny. And just the plot, the reveal, the characterization of Jekyll and Hyde, just chef's kiss. One of the best beginner classics also, if you're not a big classics reader, because it's short, it's easy to get through, and it's very interesting. I can and have written papers upon papers about this novel's exploration of human morality and whether or not we are inherently good or evil or both. And it's really fascinating. So I had to give it to Jekyll and Hyde.
Nice. Yeah, it's always a classic. It's always worth mentioning. Another classic worth mentioning, Miss Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu. The origin of sexy sapphic vampires. In so many words. It's much more nuanced than that. But Carmilla inspired Dracula. She was just a heck of a vampire, okay? And she's what really got me into vampires this year. I was not a vampire girly before reading Carmilla. I was after. And like it got me excited to read other vampire works like Bride by Ellie Hazelwood, which was another 5-star. And honestly, yeah, it became my favorite monster. So props. That takes a lot of effort.
Yeah. Very versatile.
Yeah. I liked to see like how the different origins can be, the different lore. Even though it's the same monster, they're also different.
Nice. Very cool. I have another award for best cover art. I'm sure you may agree.
I agree with this award.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't add anything.
Yeah. The Bonds That Tie by Jay Bree. I rated that book, every book in the series, around 4 stars when I read it the first time. We talked about it before. Our first harem paranormal romance, where after 5 years on the run from her past, Oleander is found and dragged back to face the men she ran away from. Gorgeous cover art with imagery that matches each of the books perfectly. Each of the characters on the cover is exactly how I picture them in my head. And there's 6 books, 6 characters, so there's 1 book per. It's just perfect. Yep. Chef's kiss.
It's perfect.
Yep, and then my next award that I had was Most Unhinged Read, and for that I picked Trick My Treats by Reese Rivers, which I rated 4.25 stars. It's a Halloween contemporary romance where a house sitter gets railed by 3 masked men who break in to hide from the cops. And the only note I have for that being unhinged is responding to being held hostage at knife point by getting horny is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the book just had the most out of left field, was not expecting actual plot twist that I was not anticipating. And it ended up with such a high rating because of it, because it was just masterful the way that plot twist was. Yeah. It was insane. Loved it.
I love that. I love when that happens, where it's like, I didn't expect to be impressed at all, and here I am with my jaw on the floor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great.
Those are the best feelings. I also have an unhinged read, Lanark by Alistair Gray.
Yep.
Which, if you haven't had the pleasure of listening to the second half of episode 5 of the Badly Annotated Readers Society, in case that wasn't clear, it's basically, what if Alice in Wonderland dropped a little acid and was also semi-autobiographical?
No, for real.
Yeah. There's truly not a good way to sum up that book, because nothing makes sense. Everything is chaos. You will never have any inkling as to what may come next. And it even gets like unbelievably meta at one point. Like, there's more fourth walls broken in this book than there is in Deadpool. It's insane. Okay? He goes through a giant mouth at one point, but he has to go down naked and head first. And then there's a woman, but then she turns into a dragon, but then she's a woman again. And then there's the intercylindrical zone. And it gets crazy. It gets crazy. if you don't want to read 600 pages, just listen to episode 5 because I did it for you. But, whoa.
Yeah, I feel like out of the two, yours takes the most unhinged read award for sure.
It's
just crazy.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, it feels like it was written by an actual crazy man. Alistair Gray.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that man was wild.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Cool. Well, not cool. Not cool that he's, oh my God. Sorry, that's not what I meant.
Cool.
I'm so sorry. I'm cutting that. We're going to move on.
You keep it in.
No.
Cool.
Rest in peace.
Cool.
Shut up. My next award I threw in there as another sort of lower rating one, which is the award for being the most painful to finish goes to Study for Obedience by Sarah Bernstein, which I rated 2.75 stars out of 5, which I never do. I rarely go below 3. Mm-hmm. And it's basically just a literary fiction novel in which a young woman moves to a remote town where she might be a witch.
Okay.
Yeah. The only note I had on that was this book is a stain on the name of Canadian fiction. However, mad respect to the author, though, because this book did win the Giller Prize, and she is the youngest woman ever, the youngest person, I think, even, to win the Giller Prize, and her list of accomplishments is never ending. Like, no hate to her, mad respect. However, I hate this book. And I had to read it for a class, so already I was resentful.
Got it.
And then, in a similar vein, we have Best in Disturbing My Peace, which I put Bunny by Mona Awad, which was a DNF. And it's a contemporary horror novel about a college student and outsider, Samantha Heather Mackey, and a sorority cult. Girl, what the fuck was that? The body horror and the animal cruelty were way too much for me. We did not need to be doing all of that. Okay? So that the award for Best in Disturbing My Peace, Bunny by Mona Awad.
That adds up.
Yeah. And then the next award I have is Best in Batshit Characters. And the book that I lovingly give this award to is Little Stranger by Lee Rivers, which I gave 3 stars. And it is a taboo dark romance about a psychopath and his foster sister who sends him to prison.
Oh.
He does get out, though, and then immediately starts stalking her, and then things ensue. So.
Oh, I'm shocked.
Yeah. So foster siblings, already nuts. But foster siblings who also happen to be the dumbest, most disturbed girl alive and a psychopath, batshit. They were crazy, but somehow fully developed 3-dimensional characters. It was nuts.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. So I just had to give that award to them.
Fair. I also have a mention for this award, and it is Poor Things by Alistair Gray, yet again. Dude just specializes in batshit. Poor Things, it's about a devastatingly ugly scientist who transplants a fetus's brain into its mother's body, and chaos ensues.
Naturally.
Yeah. This book is also gone over in episode 5. Should you wish for a more in-depth summary of it. But basically, besides Godwin Baxter, who is the aforementioned devastatingly ugly scientist, this also includes characters such as Archibald McCandless, who falls in love with a literal child in a woman's body and is fully aware that it is a child's brain. Bella Baxter, who is mentally aging at dramatic speeds, and she fucks men into madness across Europe because her body craved affection, because she is an alleged erotomaniac. And Duncan Wedderburn, who faulted Bella's insatiable lady bits with leading him to insanity due to always being ready for another round.
Wow.
So,
Okay, yeah. That,
yeah.
yeah, best in bad shit characters for sure.
Yeah. It
Cool.
was a collection of them.
It was something.
Yeah.
All right, and for my last award, I have the best in purely entertainment. These are the books that, are they good? Maybe not, but was I entertained? Absolutely yes.
Mm-hmm.
I chose Good Elf Gone Wrong by Alina Jacobs. I gave it 4.25 stars out of 5. And it's just a holiday romance following Gracie, a people-pleasing eldest daughter who brings home a bad boy to get revenge on her shitty sister and ruin her wedding to Gracie's very own ex-fiance, who the previous year, the day before their wedding, walked in on him fucking her sister under the Christmas tree.
Okay, fair.
And so she decides, actually, I'm going to ruin everything. And this book is completely unrealistic. None of this would ever happen in real life. What in the Wattpad is this? These characters are the absolute worst to each other in the most bizarre ways. However, I did eat that shit up.
Oh my goodness. I had a very similar experience recently with Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. Was it good? Not really. Did I love it? Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Essentially, girl gets abducted by aliens. Girl gets dumped on a planet light years away from Earth. Girl runs into a local alien and he greets her with oral sex. And girl fucks her way to survival. What more do you need?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you not be entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Period.
Period.
Yeah, I was indeed
awesome.
Entertained.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that wraps up the Bars Awards of 2024. Excellent. Great.
And I believe that brings us to our 2025 book it lists. Our books we want to read this year that we will do our best to at some point throughout the next 12 months. Would you like to give us your list first?
Yes. So most of mine are series. I've got some lofty goals this year. It's time to get cracking. Oh. So I've got the Goosebumps series by R.L. Stein.
Ooh, how many's in that?
Like 50, but they're like 150 pages each. They're not very long.
They're shorties.
Yeah, it's for the nostalgia. It's for the book count, if I'm being honest. You're
just trying to pump it.
It's also just because I have already started them and I've read the first 2 and I'm having so much fun. They're so wild. And if you're at all interested on Overdue, the other podcast Overdue, they did a whole series about the Goosebumps and like they went so in depth and did like a grading system for the Goosebumps parents and they had like a running bit about it. It's so fun. So they kind of inspired me and now I want to read them all. And so I will. Hopefully. And then I've got A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas because I feel like I've been a fantasy girly in this space for too long without having read A Court of Thorns and Roses. And then I've got The Realm of the Elderlings universe by Robin Hobb, which is a sort of like high fantasy, more like traditional fantasy version of the Sarah J. Maas verse. And so it's like a multi-series universe. I think it's like 16 or 17 books or something like that. I bought the first one last year. And so this year I think I'm going to crack into it because I've been seeing so much about it and I just gotta. And then my last goal is to just finish some unfinished series that I started last year that just like fell by the wayside, namely Air Awakens by Elise Kova, which is like an elemental magic sort of YA fantasy that's just like wholesome and easy to get through. And then Zodiac Academy by Caroline Peckham and Suzanne Valenti, because again, I need to keep going because it's getting crazy and I need to know what happens. And the 9th and final book came out last year, so now I just got to do it.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Exciting. I hope you get all of those read.
Thank you.
Yeah. On my list this year, I've got Lady Susan by Jane Austen. because I like to always make sure I get a classic in there, you know?
Fair.
And it's just a little one. It's just a shorter one. But it's written through the POV of letters, which is really weird for the time. So I'm excited to see how that one is. Um, Next, I've got Ninth House by Lee Bardugo, which you could probably explain it better than I could, but um, pretty much drugs make you see dead people. Spooky.
Secret
Um,
societies.
yeah.
Yeah. Dark academia.
I've been really excited to read this one, and I just got it for Christmas. So it is
Nice.
officially on the list for the year. I also have Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver, which is a dark romance. Two serial killers have a annual contest, basically, and it gets spicy.
Yeah.
Next is Dark Archives by Megan Rosenblum. This is a nonfiction book about anthropodermic bookbinding, which is books bound in human skin. And another book that I got for Christmas. I'm so excited to read it. I find it fascinating.
Nice.
And yeah, I've listened to her episode on the Morbidly Curious podcast. I believe it's actually episode 1. And yeah, I fell in love. So I'm so excited to read this book. And last on my list is a $2 find from Vivi Boutique. And it's called Heartbreak Hotel by Cassie Miles. And it is the most 80s piece of Harlequin intrigue you've ever laid your eyes on. It's got the fiercest mullet on the cover ever. Okay? The main love interest name is Johnny Swift. I can't wait.
Oh my gosh. I didn't even think to mention because I got a $2 Harlequin book from that same Value Village trip. Oh my gosh. That's on my list too. 100%.
Yeah,
My
I'm
Harlequin
so
book.
excited for it.
Maybe we could do an episode about it.
Yeah, I feel like we will need to.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
yeah, they're both like 180 pages or so.
Yeah.
And just batshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, just absolute clown shoes.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, yeah, so those are our bucket lists. And then I also thought we could get into our 2025 reading goals, which aren't necessarily book specific. And these are all very loose goals. Like these are New Year's resolutions we may or may not stick to. Okay, we are very low pressure around here. Reading is supposed to be fun. So I've just got some reading goals for myself that are loose, that are okay, that like we'll see. So I've got a goal set of 50 books and 15,000 pages, which is my standard yearly goal because I usually read more than that, and I try to keep it at about a book a week. And then if I read more, great, and if not, also whatever. And it's just a nice benchmark to have to keep me in the habit of reading. And then my other goals are to stick to reading books I already own as much as I can to make a dent in my physical TBR because I have at least over 100 physical books that I've not read. It's becoming a problem. I'm a mood reader. I like to go shopping in my own library, and so now I'd like to actually do that and stop buying more books. And then use my library more, for example, for the Goosebumps endeavor, so I don't have to spend $9 on an ebook every time I want to read a Goosebumps book. And then in that similar vein, I want to support more indie authors and indie bookish endeavors because I feel like that's important. And I also would like to start some of my own bookish endeavors. I am a writer and I do have a novel plotted, so we'll see. And I would also like to, this is like a continuation from last year. This is something that I started last year and I'd like to continue it. So I'm bringing a goal from 2024 to diversify my reading, to read more like racially diverse, culturally diverse, more queer stories, more of just anything that doesn't look like me. I just want to keep going with that because I started that last year and I've been loving it so far. And I feel like we need to support all stories and all voices from a wide variety because I think that's important. And also just the idea of supporting a story that some kid somewhere might see and get excited to see themselves, or someone, even anyone, kids, adults, people in general, might see themselves in it and get excited that there's something that represents them. And so I want to support that. So I'm carrying that over. And then also my last goal is to get back into the genres that sparked my love of reading in the first place. So like fantasy, children's adventure classics, mysteries, things like that, and to just sort of de-influence myself from the book community online, because as much as I love romance and I can appreciate it for the things that it does, I would like more of other things in my life in 2025 to bring back some of the things that drew me to reading in the first place that are independent of the bookish community online, because as much as I love this community, it is quite loud.
It sure can be.
Yeah. So those are my goals.
Nice.
Yeah.
Those are some good goals.
Thank
I
you.
feel confident that you will hit them. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted it to just be things that were manageable, that will sort of foster some of the things that I want out of reading in the year, but without putting any pressure on it.
Perfect. That's all you need.
Yeah, what are your goals?
My goals, I like to keep my goals pretty simple because when I set goals, I want them to be, one, attainable, and I want them to be clear when I've hit them. That sounds like something I'm quoting from therapy, and that's because it is. But I find that it helps me a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a concrete person that if it's like a halfway thing, like you got to separate that bullet point in two just so that you can check off one when it's done and the other one's not finished. Okay. So my goals for 2025 is to read 50 books. I raised it from 35.
Nice.
My last 2 years in a row now, I've raised my reading goal by 15, but I do like the book a week goal, so I have a feeling mine will also likely stay around 50.
Yeah.
In those 50, I would like to read at least one vintage book from my collection. I have a growing collection of vintage novels now. So yeah, I'd like to read at least one of them. I only put one because, they're vintage. I'm not taking them out of my house, so I have to read those ones at home.
Yeah, they're also dense. Like the ones you just bought. When we were on the island, we both found vintage sets of books. Mine are children's classics, and hers are just like literary, like all the necessary classics, and they're dense.
It's called the Casket of Literature.
Yeah.
And it's got things from Jane Austen to Keats to Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu, like all of them.
Yeah.
It's insane.
They're heavy, those books.
Yeah, so I feel like if it's something like that, like not the entirety of one of those books, because that would be all of my reading for the year.
Yeah.
But possibly like one of my vintage novels. Like I've got a few vintage novels. One that I picked up this past week was actually a 1924 first edition of Who Killed Cock Robson by, I believe the last name is Hext.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
But yeah, 1924 first edition. So cool. It smells delicious. So yeah, I want to read one of my ones with the crispy pages. And I also want to read at least one anthology book or like short stories book, because I'm not a big short stories person. I did read more this year than I ever have before, or like this past year. I even read one full short stories book. It was The King in Yellow by Robert Chambers. And I didn't love that one because I just felt like some of the stories didn't go together, but I still read it. And I read some other ones like around Halloween. There was The Canterville Ghost by Oscar Wilde. And yeah, there was a small handful. And so yeah, I'd like to read another book of stories. And in terms of writing, I'm not putting an exact number on this goal because I don't want to set it too high. I'm keeping it kind of vague just because it's a harder one. But I just want to write more sonnets because I know we've mentioned it previously, where Hannah just went, "You should write a book of sonnets," and I went, "Yeah, I'd like to one day." I just want to slowly, put them out there, and then I can like go back and edit as I see fit. But to start, putting more effort into consistently writing them a little more.
That makes me so happy because sonnets, especially as a medium, are like so perfect for you because there is a set structure and a set of rules that like
They're very concrete.
I'm sure, yeah, works for your brain. And so you can at least I noticed as an outsider looking in when you were writing that one for our poetry episode that it seems like because there is that structure and you don't have to think about that, it sort of like lets whatever it is that you need to say come out in a way that's really beautiful. And I feel like when you write more sonnets, I want to read them if you want to share because I think that's so wonderful. And yeah, those are awesome goals in general. And I feel like like having this set, like I know when this is done and I can check this off.
Yeah.
That's like fantastic for you. Yeah, that's really cool. I feel like we went in such different directions with our reading goals because mine are like so vague of just like a general thing that I want out of 2025 because my goals are sort of just to foster the things I want out of reading, and I like to keep them vague because having a set thing stresses me out.
Yeah, like you say that and I was like, even like, oh, but that kind of like works for us individually as readers though. Like you as a mood reader, you're not as concrete as I am in terms of, okay, I'm gonna pick up this book and then I'm gonna finish this book. Yours are more vague in terms of like, that's just how your brain works in like pulling it all together. Like you've got the broad ideas and like the wide plethora of things that you're interested in, and I feel like your goals reflect that. And not to say that I don't have a lot that I'm interested in as well. Of course, everybody does. But also the fact that, I do like to pick up a book and then close that book. And like, I love the concrete. I love organizing things very specifically. And yeah, I feel like it's just another reflection of ourselves as readers.
Yeah. And like also just like our strengths, like you're always very good with like managing the little details, and you're very like detail oriented and making sure like that like things get done, and you do it in such a like broken down like clear way. Like that's why I appreciate working with you so much because I can't do that. But like because like I'm very like type B creative spirit, like ideas man kind of
Whereas
thing.
I'm like, I've got all of these boxes and they will get checked off individually and they are color coded.
They are color coded and they're so cute on cute stationery too. Like you're that girl. You are that girl. And it's so cool. And I love it so much. And so I feel like your goals are also really reflective of that too, of just like, and I know that you're going to do it too. Like you're like, I'm going to read one vintage book. I'm going to read one anthology, and I'm writing more sonnets. Done. And that's what we're going to do.
Period.
And
that's what we're doing
And you're going to absolutely kill it. And I can't wait to hear about it. And I'm so excited about 2025.
Yay.
Look at us. We work so well together because I feel I'm good at everything that you're not necessarily, and you're good at everything that I'm not necessarily. And so we come together and it's like,
exactly.
Magic.
This is our joint brain baby.
Yeah.
And another fun part of having a joint brain baby is having hopes and dreams for that brain baby. Yes. Yeah. And so we'll just take turns rattling some off here. But just wanted to mention a couple things that we're hopeful for, for the podcast, where we're going this year, what we want to do, some things we want to happen, some things we want to do together, both with like each other and with the community. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So I am not really one to set numerical goals just because I'm very self-critical. And so sometimes if I set a numerical goal and then it doesn't happen, I can be very, very hard on myself in a way that's not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But I decided to set just a little one
Just a little one.
that I think is doable. And even if it doesn't happen, I know that you'll be here to hold my hand and pull
Yeah.
me out of the self-critical hole. So I set a little goal to hit 250 followers on Instagram.
You're not even the Instagram manager.
I'm not
There's
even
no
the
pressure
Instagram
at all.
manager. I'm not the Instagram manager, no. But I just know that we have like some ideas
Yeah.
for like videos and other
Mhm.
content we want to do, and that'll like hopefully
We'll get
engage a
there.
little bit more with like the bookish community on Instagram. And so I
Yeah.
just set just a little goal to hit 250 followers on Instagram, which is small, but also like if 250 people walked in right now to watch us record, that would be insane.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that's my little numerical goal.
Hmm. And yeah, honestly, our Instagram community has also just been popping off lately, which has been so exciting to see.
Mm-hmm.
And like Boxing Day was a really big day for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, just having all of this, honestly, just like the feeling of it all coming together has just been so overpowering lately.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's just another part of it. Like we've been making some new connections on Instagram, connecting with some authors, connecting with other podcasts, and yeah, it's been a big gateway. So we're excited to see how that grows.
Mm-hmm.
On that same note, another one of our goals is to work with another podcast or author in some capacity. We've got some plans for things that we'd like to do. We've got some plotting happening behind the scenes. Maybe some of you will hear about it sooner or later, but we think that would be really cool to be able to directly work with the community in that way as well. And we've already sort of floated the idea out there a little bit, but we'll hopefully start making some plans with some new book
Yeah.
besties.
Yeah. Especially like if we can work with an indie author as well. That would
Hmm.
be really cool because I
Hmm.
am all about supporting independent publishing and self-publishing. And so I feel like if we could work with an indie author and our very little platform, it's
Hmm.
growing though, but our little
It's
platform,
growing.
even if our little platform got like one indie author, like one extra reader, that would make me
Hmm.
so happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, also similarly to that, I think it would be really cool if we could have a guest on our show in 2025. And I just
Yeah.
wrote that as a general have a guest on because I have some readers in my life who I know personally that I think would be
Mhm.
really fun to have on the show. So like
Agree.
even if it's not even someone else in the book community online, I think it would be a lot of fun to just like bring a friend onto the show.
Our mascot, even.
The mascot. Oh my god, Grant. We should do an episode with Grant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it would be really cool to have a guest on our show at some point in 2025. Just doing something fun, just having someone on the show to like
Mhm.
really bring in that community aspect as well. So that was my other little goal.
Nice. Love that. And lastly, a more community-based goal for us is to host a readathon or some sort of book club type something. We're thinking about maybe on Fable now that we've got that set up. If the interest is there, otherwise we can look into, group chats, discords, etc. See what the community prefers, but we think that would be really fun. We had our little readathon last October and we had a great time.
We know Michelle had a great time.
Michelle had a great time. Michelle can vouch. Our readathons are fun. I will pick better books as we keep going. Hannah knocked it out of the park first try. But yeah, hopefully to do some more of those. Yeah, it was so fun.
Yeah. It's so fun to connect. I feel like all of these are very like community-based goals, and I'm really here for it, and I'm really happy with it, and I'm happy really with exciting. The way that things are progressing. Even if we never go viral or get a ton of following, I think it's just cool to connect.
Yeah. It's going to be so fun to listen to these when we're old.
That's another thing too. Is this is a form of journaling for me, and I think it's really cool. Yeah. Sweet. What a great project. I think this is the best thing that came out of 2024 for me.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, I also started my career, so I don't want to say it was the biggest thing, but it was pretty darn big.
Well, it's not the biggest thing, but like, not necessarily the biggest thing, but like,
it was the most exciting, to be honest.
Yeah, it's the best.
By a lot. Yeah. It's the best.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, here's to 2024. Here's to all the books we've read. Here's to all the books we will be reading.
Here's to 2025.
Yay! And you can find us on Instagram or Threads at Badly Annotated Pod. And you can send us an email at badlyannotatedpod@gmail.com. And you can find all of our streaming links. You can find us on Fable, all of the platforms via the link in our Instagram bio. And with that, best wishes, warmest regards, Happy New Year.
Sincerely, Jess and Hannah.